Hello everyone, this is Tina from Tina's Workshop, and we are about to finally card this fleece. This 3 pounds of Hampshire wool that I dyed with the Osage orange in the last video, and now it's time to get it ready to spin. We have a few different ways we can do that. One is the traditional hand card method. The other is combing. But I am going to use the Big Daddy, the drum carder, with my new Christmas gift, my lock pop. So let's get started. Okay, so if we were using the hand cards, the fleece would go on them here, and you work it back and forth like this. And you keep going back and forth, pulling off the fleece from one to the next until you have it at the point where you are ready to use it. And some people prefer this. Then I've used this quite often, and I have a few different styles. This is the combs, and there are different ones with different size teeth. And this one, you take your fleece and you put it down like this, stack a bunch, and then you're going to come across it, pulling it off with the other comb, and then doing the same thing in the reverse until you get it to that point that is then ready. And you actually, when you take it off of this one, you will pull it and make your little, you roll this up, make a little nest, and then it's ready to spin right from that. But like I said, one of the biggest reasons I am going to do it on here is because I have 3 pounds, and it's going to take a long time to do 3 pounds with these other methods. So I'm going to start with it on the lock pop, and this is going to break my locks open, pull out vegetable matter, and get it ready to get fed into the machine. So I'm basically going to take from my fleece, I'm going to, I look to see if I can find a tip. So right there, you can see it's a little bit darker right there, that's a tip. And then I'll pull from there so that I get in this lock formation already, which is just going to be that much easier when I go to put it through the lock pop. So here is a short bit that is not going to be worth doing anything with, so that will get set aside. So then we just take that lock, tap it up and down a few times to break open the lock, and then pull it through. Tap it up and down a few times, open the lock, and pull it through. And now it's all nice and fluffy. There's no VM in it. Separate it, and it's ready to go into the machine. So I'm going to do this a bunch of times, and I will turn on the machine, and then I will feed it into here. And because I've opened them up ahead of time, I should only have to run it once on here. If I didn't do this and I just took it straight from here, which you can do, you can take it straight from here, open it up like this, and put it in. But now you can see there's vegetable matter, and it's going in all different directions, where this that I just put through the lock pop has no VM, and all the fibers are going in one direction already. So if I put it in like this, I probably only need to put it through the drum carder once to make a nice full bat. If I put it through like this, it's going to have to go through, I'm going to say probably about 3 times before I get it nice. If it had more VM or was more matted, then it would probably need to go through 5 times or more. But with this, I should only have to put it through once. So taking those extra few seconds to do the lock pop is going to save me a lot of time here, because you're still going to take time to open these up, not much more time to run it through the lock pop.
Future me here. I forgot to tell you, before I started doing all this carding, after my fleece had dried from the dyeing process and I still had it outside on the skirting table, I pulled the fleece apart, just fluffing it, taking out any big pieces of VM I saw, just in general though, just fluffing it. And as I did that, a lot of little bits of debris came out. I don't know if you remember that there was a bit of a grit from the Osage orange, and you can see right there we're flying out. The majority of that came out in this process. So I just sat there, enjoyed myself in the sun, and just fluffed all of this fleece apart before I put it into my big basket. And this will actually make everything that I'm doing a lot easier too, because a lot of that little debris fell out, and other vegetable matter, plus it's already fluffed a little bit more, and is more ready for the process. See, there's some short bits, so I took them out ahead of time. Had a little container there I was dropping bits into. So just different bits of VM, but you can really see when I pluck at this, you can really see how much of that sawdust, I guess, basically that was in there flies out. So it was a good thing to have all that come out before bringing it in the house to use it in the house. So there's a few other ways that you could do this. I actually did record one other one, but it's ultimately not what I ended up doing here. But I do have a picker box that you put it into, and it has all these big nails into it, and you just run it back and forth in there. But I decided I was enjoying this process more and just sitting there and enjoying myself outside. So this is how I ended up doing the whole fleece.
So, and if you're interested in the lock pop, I'm not associated at all, but this is by Clems and Clems. My carder I am using is by Brother, and it's an electric one. So those are the two main things I'm going to be using. The drum carders you can get all over the place. As far as I know, the only person that carries the lock pop is Clems and Clems. It's something that they designed. So I was doing alpaca on this last, brown alpaca. I want to clean that off a little bit, and then I'm going to get started. So this is a little tool for cleaning hairbrushes, and it works great for cleaning drum carders too. So I'm just going to get in here and pull this off. This part, the liquor in, isn't really going to matter as much. This is more of the waste fleece, but if I'm going to clean it, I figure I might as well clean it all. And then I'm going to do the same thing up here and pull all of that extra fiber out so we have a nice clean carder. And this little bit of brown that's in here, if it got mixed into my yellow because of the coloring it is, probably wouldn't matter much, but if I was doing, say, white, having that brown in there would not be good. Let's see, these ones go that way. If you hear noise in the background, that's my husband out working on his lathe, making something beautiful, I am sure. Now, you do not have to have any of this kind of equipment to get your fleece to the stage of being able to use. There are a couple different things you can do. When I started, I did not have any of this. And the simplest thing would be to just pull the fleece apart in your fingers and spin from that. Just pull it a number of times and keep working it, getting as much stuff out as you can. So you can technically just spin from that. The next thing is go to your local dollar store. Pick up a couple dog brushes, cat brushes. There's all different sizes you can get for $1. Buy 2 of them. You could buy just one and you could hold it and do like I'm doing on the lock pop. Or you can buy 2 and do the same as you would with the carders. It's a lot smaller, so you can't do as much at one time, but you can still do it. And this is great when you're doing it with children too. These are not as stiff as what is on these other ones. The carding cloth, they're a lot softer, especially from this one. You can see this one's super, super strong. But the ones that are on these other ones, they're a much stiffer carding cloth. But these will still work. Okay, so now we can actually start laying these in. Pull my big thing of fleece over here where I can get to it. So I'm just going to pull locks apart and run them through here. And then lay them into the machine. You want, when your fleece goes into here, you want it to be see-through. They say that you should be able to read a newspaper through it. So you don't want to put big glops in. You've got to put it in thin layers, which will make it feed into the machine properly. And the more time you take, the better your end product is going to be. So enjoy the process and don't try to rush through it. And you're going to have some fleece build up on here, and then you can end up pulling this off later when you get a certain amount built up. And I like to try and pull it off together and then pull it through again so that I can utilize as much as I can, because some of what gets left behind is shortcuts, but in that first pass sometimes you catch some of the longer stuff. So I try to use as much as possible. If you come across a really big piece like this, go ahead and pull it out. You don't need to run it through the machines, but you can. And I am not an expert at this by far. I have only been spinning my own yarn for 3 years now. And I was going to say processing less, but I actually started to process my own fleece before I started spinning, because I had inherited a spinning wheel, as some of you may have known, and there is actually a video on my channel when my husband and I restored it. But I'd gotten a bunch of fleece and I started processing it before I had the spinning wheel fixed. So now that's going to feed in. And now it's just passed right under the liquor, so I can lay in another layer. And it does go faster on the electric carder, but I also have a manual one. And with the fact that this is having to be prepped, it's not going to mean a huge difference in time, because we're taking this time here. If I was using roving and blending colors together, then it would make a big difference using the electric opposed to the manual, because I'd just be constantly feeding. But I am stopping so that I can prep my fleece as it goes in. And do not put your fingers under here when it's on. Well, you will go ow. And you don't want to go ow. There's a joke with people who do their own fiber like this, that you make sure your tetanus shot is up to date, because you have so many things like this that you can poke yourself with that could potentially be rusty. Guess what? My tetanus shot is not up to date. I'm not a fan of needles, so I don't feel like willingly going in to get my shot, because that is one that I know hurts a bit more. So I guess that means I have to be extra careful. So fluffy. Oh, look. Got a little knot right there in the center. Just going to pull it out of that groove and do it by itself. There we go. Okay, so if I pull this up like this, then I can run it through on its own. Now I'm not really trying to pop it open, I'm just trying to pull these random fibers together into almost creating a new lock with it. And this is totally optional how you want to do this. This is just what I do when it comes to that. I don't want to waste it if I don't have to, and this is my way of solving that. And you can always take this extra here too if you want, pull it off, set it aside, and then do that later. You could also take the time to run that through the machine by itself later. As every YouTuber out there knows, your battery always seems to go dead when you least expect it, except that it wasn't my battery this time. It was my card. It was full. Normally I'm recording directly onto my computer, and I am away from the computer, so I am recording onto the card, and I had stuff on it, so it went full, and so hopefully I didn't miss too many things. I went back and looked at what I had on there, but honestly can't remember what exactly I had said right at the end, so hopefully I haven't forgotten anything. If you have a question, you feel like I've left something out, then just let me know and I will try to answer it. And if you are still here and you are enjoying this, please click like and subscribe if you would like to see more. Every like really does help. It helps the YouTube algorithm to know people actually enjoy my content and they push it out more. So the likes really do make a difference. It's not just letting me know that you like it, though I do appreciate that too, but it lets YouTube know that you like what I do. So while I was transferring files, I put a little bit more onto here, and I am just plugging along. So again, you can see the tips here that I'm pulling at. When I get to the point that I have pretty much just a ball of fluff in my hand, then I pull at the edge so that I try and pull them out into as long a pieces as I can, because I don't want to waste any. See, like this here, it's kind of hard to tell where an end is, so I'm just going to go for an edge and pull at it, and hopefully get a long piece. If it's folded in the center, it will unfold as we do either the lock pop or the carding. Okay, so I think this is actually a little bit big, so I'm going to divide this one in half and just work with half of that. So I hope you have all had a great New Year, because by the time you see this, it will be after New Year's, since this is New Year's Eve I am recording. And we will have more in this series. If you haven't seen any yet, there is skirting the fleece, scouring the fleece, and naturally dyeing the fleece. And then this one is carding the fleece. The next one will be spinning it. And then the last one will hopefully be knitting a sweater from the fleece that I took from sheep to yarn. I have really been enjoying this one. I'm super excited about doing this. This is the first one that I will be doing in such a large quantity to make something that large, and really will be the first sweater I've done too, so we'll have lots of firsts. So this is going to take a while, and I'm just going to sit here and enjoy the process. I can watch TV, watch YouTube, listen to an audiobook, listen to some music, or just sit in the quiet. And I'm just going to keep plugging along until I have a full bat, and then I will show you how it comes off of the carder, and then I'll just have however many more bats to do. So we'll see how much fleece ends up on this first one. I think we might weigh it just so that we can, gives us an idea, since we know we have 3 pounds of fleece. So when we get the first one done, if we weigh it, then we'll know how many bats it should take to complete. Okay, I could probably put a little bit more on this if I want to, but I'm gonna stop here. We're gonna use this is a doffer, and you can see right here where there's a separation in the tines, and that's where we want to lift this bat at. And we're just going to do little bits at a time. We're not gonna cut it, we're gonna lift it up and let the fibers separate themselves. You never want to cut your fibers. I shouldn't say never. You shouldn't cut your fibers. You get better fibers, better locking, better length. So we're just going to separate this all the way across until we've got a full separation. Make sure it's all lifted. And then we're going to remove it from this back side, and we're going to reverse the direction the drum is going. I'm going to lift my brush so my brush doesn't catch any of it. Put this in reverse. Slow it down. So we're going to lift and pull this to the back. And then I'll move it a little bit and continue the same thing. Carefully lifting and pulling. If you get any spots that have too much catching, use your doffer and you can lift those threads up. This one, knock on wood, actually is lifting pretty well. Probably the best one I've had lift. rotate it again. Some sticking here. And even though I went through and cleaned this before I started, you can actually see where some of that brown is in there, but I can pull that out and it's not going to make a big deal on this one when I spin it. But there is our fluffy bat. And I brought scale over. And I am going to put it in ounces because we are in the United States and I usually go by ounces. But I can do it by grams too. So I'm just going to fold this and see. Maybe that's good. Get to stay where I want it. Oh, come on. I don't want to stay. There we go. 0.99 ounces. Wow. And let's see, if we put it on grams, that's 28 grams. So 0.99 ounces. We have 3 pounds to do, and you can see I barely dented the top of this. And this is our So that is our first bat. When we go to spin from it, we'll just pull pieces off and we'll spin, which will be in the next video. For now, I have a whole lot more carding to do. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and make sure and hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye.